It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the program. TRAJAN, wealth.com for all your trusted local needs in retirement. Scott Springer, he covers Cincinnati for the Cincinnati Enquirer. Scott, you were on with us a few weeks ago when Utah was hosting Cincinnati. And since then, the Bearcats, was it that game by itself that kind of sent the whole thing into a little bit of a downward spiral? Because we've seen the worst version of Cincinnati over the past couple of weeks.
November's not been very kind, so they need to right the ship here. If you look at what Brendan Sorsby had done, August 28th, they played Nebraska, throws an interception in that game, and Cincinnati had a crucial fumble. And then Sorsby goes September, October, no turnovers. And then comes to Utah, and a couple of fumbles, and the first pick since August 28th. And then that game gets out of hand. And then last week against Arizona, 2 picks in one game, actually. And the first possession, the very first play of the game, a pick 6. So there's not a more nauseating start to a game than that. But, they came back and made it a game, but just for whatever reason, the pass game has not worked so well here lately. And I don't have the solution to it. I just write about it. But, they suddenly are turning the ball over, and that's not good for winning.
Despite the results of the last 2 weeks, this Cincinnati team is still in the mix for a spot in the Big 12 championship game and an opportunity, if they beat BYU, to improve their chances of doing that. Is there still some optimism with that group this week? What's been the mood around this team as you've talked to some of the players and coaches?
I think they're realistic about it. I mean, I think they want to win. First and foremost, it's senior night for them, and they have their first night game of the season, and the kids all like the night games, much like Utah liked their night game against the Bearcats. I think they just want to go out and get, win number 8 and then see if they can get win number 9. As far as their chances, my math is not that good. I have a son that's an actuary that actually lives not too far from you, and I might consult him. But it's not looking good, I don't think. I mean, because if it gets to a head-to-head situation and what Utah did to them. But I think if you're a Bearcat fan, BYU's had their number. They've never beaten them. So that should be some motivation right there. And just the fact that you want to go out on a winning note. And November's been kind of lousy so far. So here's your opportunity. You got the Fox Big Noon kickoff show coming. I don't know what the kids are going to do for 8 hours in between time, but same with Utah. I think those kids found something to do, so they were back and rowdy there in the muss. So it'd be a long day if you're a student. Smart old guy like me might just wait it out and wait for the game.
Scott, one thing that we've watched with this Big 12 is that it just seems week after week with the College Football Playoff Committee, it's battling against bigger brands and people trying to tell you why one loss is better than 2. And do you think that this just isn't built for anybody except for the Big 10 and the SEC, that you have to be kind of 30% better than what is required of some of these other conferences? Because that's what it feels like sometimes. It just feels crazy to me that a really, really, really good Texas Tech team and a second Big 12 team not getting in, it seems like a second team getting in would be something that would almost be automatic in a year like this when they're so dang good. Certainly compared to the 2 ACC teams who got in last year were at the very least.
Yeah. No, I mean, it looks like a lot of politics, so there's nothing new there. I don't get it myself. If you've seen BYU play, if you've seen Texas Tech play, if you've seen Utah play, to me, those are the clear top 3. Arizona State, maybe Cincinnati are in that next, area. But, they certainly deserve it. Texas Tech has just ran all over people. Utah, everyone is like Utah that I've seen so far. And BYU, what's there not to like about Kalani Sitake? It's like he might beat you, but he's the nicest guy in the world. So I don't know. I mean, I met him at some of the media days. I talked to Dante Corleone, who has met him and struck up a conversation with him. And Satake even mentioned it in his press conference this week, how much he liked Dante.
Yeah.
They're all a similar size. I mean, Dante might have him a little bit in the poundage area, but I'm sure Kalani can knock a few people over back in the day.
Absolutely could. Before we focus a lot on BYU, you did have a chance to see Cincinnati against Utah. What were your thoughts on the Utes? And obviously the committee likes them quite a bit, but not enough to have them in that top 10. What stood out to you about Utah in that game you watched?
Well, that is certainly not an easy place to play, and everyone talks about the must. But to me, it was the stadium was full. You know, everybody in Salt Lake City was there that day, or most everybody that wears red, I guess. I know there's some sort of a rivalry there going on, so I hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I were a burglar, that might have been the area to strike that night around the stadium because everybody was in there. It was crazy, and Cincinnati didn't do themselves any favors, and it looked like they were going to have a game, but a couple of turnovers and it gets out of hand. The two running quarterbacks are outstanding. Their defense is very, very good. I haven't seen Texas Tech in person this year. Saw them last year when Cincinnati played them down there, and that was a tight 44-41 game. And it looks like they've only gotten better. And BYU's, you got one loss, and that was to a pretty decent team. So I don't know. Cincinnati, I to be quite honest with you, I had them at 7 wins for the season, and then they got there early, and then you're thinking, well, we'll see what happens. But the last 2 games, they've not represented like a team should that wants to be in this thing. Now, can they right the ship? They can. The talent is there. And they do get a couple of guys back this week. Evan Pryor, who's missed 2 games, one of their better running backs. Tawi Walker's the guy that ran against Utah and is a pretty good runner, but Pryor's kind of a change of pace guy. And then Caleb Goody's the guy that stretches the field that they haven't been able to use because he's been out. So would those 2 guys have made a difference? I don't know. I think a really disappointing loss is that Arizona loss, the last one, because that was just a game that you really needed to win. You really needed to win out to give yourself a chance. But you didn't do it, and, Noah Fafita is a really good quarterback, and like you said, you can't take anyone for granted in this league. You will lose. Everyone, even someone that you might think is off, could have a game against you, and there you go. So it's a lot better league than people think, and I agree that, if you want to just fill this thing full of SEC and Big Ten teams, and they're all good, I get it, but they're not taking a very good look at the Big 12, I don't think.
Scott, what do you think that this BYU team presents challenge-wise for Scott Satterfield's guys? Because, I think that people see these 2 teams, and everybody who's watching it goes, all right, this might be the last chance for a team to upset BYU. They've got UCF at home Thanksgiving weekend. But I think that obviously Cincinnati presents a problem because they are a physical team. They run the ball well, on top of the fact that Brendan Sorsby before the last couple of games has been, outstanding. And what is it that this BYU team does that scares teams that get ready for them?
Well, they're awfully tough, and I think people are just, they have a little bit of mystique about them. Most of the time people have to come across a couple time zones to come play BYU, and that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. And let's face facts. Some of the kids are on missions, and that takes a lot of dedication. I have friends that went to Army and Navy and the military academies, and I always thought that the academies sometimes could wow people because, you bring your team in, your team maybe takes a tour of the facilities, find out what these kids do, and next thing you know, you think they're superhuman or something. And it's a credit to what they do. It's a credit to what the Cougars do. I don't know if it's a mystique. Certainly the fan base shows. I guarantee you that the game is sold out, and guarantee a lot of BYU people will be there. I got an email about a separate BYU tailgate thing, and they were actually, donating some money and things like that. So they'll show up, and that's what Cincinnati has to learn about the Big 12. The problem here in Cincinnati and some of these pro towns is, you don't just have the college You've got other things going on, and you don't quite understand in some of these Big 12 towns how big college athletics is, and not just football and basketball, but the other sports. Everybody's really into their college there, and that's something that it works sometimes here. To be honest with you, here in Cincinnati, when they're winning, everyone's with them. If they're off a little bit, it's like, well, there they go again. And
yeah.
they're frankly kind of spoiled because you have the Bengals and the Reds and that type thing going on. I think Houston has a little bit of that problem, and anyone else that has pro sports near them.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at BYU and Utah, Texas Tech, even Houston's in the mix. These are schools that want to get to the college football playoff for the first time ever. Cincinnati's been there before, and even in the 4-team playoff. I'm curious. I wanted to ask you, how did that program benefit from that, or what did they do to not take advantage of that other teams in the conference can learn from?
Well, they benefited because they got, on the national radar, and I think that helped get them into the Big 12 because they were lobbying to get into the Big 12 before they were in the American. Now, what I'll say about those teams, and they had great players, don't get me wrong. I mean, Sauce Gardner is very good, and a lot of pros that were on those teams. Ritter was a quarterback, good college quarterback. He's struggling a bit in the pros, but, good players. I don't know if they had played a Big 12 schedule, if they would have been in that same situation because they did have ESPN Game Day come out that year, but then they had to play Tulsa, and Tulsa had a chance to beat them. And that would have been highly disappointing to have an undefeated season, then you're knocked off by Tulsa. So the competition wasn't quite the same. When they got to the game, the Cotton Bowl, they were outmanned by Alabama. They were just not physically quite the same, and that's what they've tried to do with these Big 12 teams here recently at Cincinnati. Is they need bigger. They needed to look the part. They needed to have the bigger guys, the faster guys, and all that. So the fact that Luke Fickell got them to where they did, pretty amazing, really. And I think it helped, get the type of guys that they're looking for. They have a brand new performance facility, indoor facility that they didn't have. That's just state of the art and really awesome. And it's certainly a recruiting tool to bring kids in and let them look at that and see what all they can do. And weather's not been so good here last couple of days, so they practiced there. So it brought some money and some attention, but then you have to capitalize on it. And the problem is in this world with coaches, when they jump ship, sometimes you have to start over. Yeah. And you might have noticed fans are not very patient. I mean, there is no 5-year plan. It's a 2-year at best. And some of these schools, it's like if they find they're not making the CFP, they're firing the coach, or the coach is leaving, or it's a mess. If I had the answer to it, I'd take care of it. But I'm just sitting here in my office talking to you guys.
Scott, the other thing I wanted to know is with Coach Scott Satterfield, that's a guy who at the beginning of the year we were all looking at and going, okay, Cincinnati's got to do something here. And it's felt like that he hasn't just done something here. He's taken a massive step for this program. Does it feel like something that's that people kind of got away from that idea of, is Scott Satterfield supposed to be here long term? I know that the program has really believed in him, and for it to go the direction that it did is really good for him. But what's the long-term viability of Scott Satterfield staying there in Cincinnati, and how well is the fan base kind of receiving him now that he's having this type of a season?
Well, what I wonder about when people say, oh, they ought to fire this guy, because everyone is so willing to fire somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, well, who are you going to hire?
Yeah, it's a great question.
It's going to take some money, and you've got these massive buyouts.
And in a year like this, everybody's losing their jobs, and then there's a bunch of openings, and then you go, well, do I want to pick up a coach when we might be the 7th choice for a person that's out there that's a really good coach?
Well, yeah, I mean, the thought that, everyone has the so-called list in their desk of who they want next. Well, most of those names are about the same. Everyone has the same names. The same guys are in contention. And so who are you going to get that's going to be that much better? And you got to look at your organization. I think you see Cincinnati has a good personnel department, good general manager, a guy that's, gotten a lot of guys in here. Personnel-wise, they've got 8 guys on staff, or 8 people on staff, and that's about what the Bengals have, if that. So, the college game's gotten a lot different. The organization part of it that they have built, sometimes, and it's tough to do, I get it, but sometimes I think you just need to maybe be a little bit patient and let the plan work on out. And, I had them at 7 wins, and I thought, well, if you get 7 wins in a bowl, people really ought to be satisfied. But what happens is you get to 7-1, and then they see you're in contention for more, and then you drop a game, and then, they ought to get rid of him again. And, same deal. So they're not easy jobs. These folks are paid handsomely, so I don't want to feel too sorry for them, but I don't know that firing is always the best answer because, what, you're going to get another guy that wants to come in here and use your stepping stone and hang a couple seasons. They've gone that route before. So this is his third year. Luke Fickell was 4. I think we had Tommy Tuberville for 5, and his last season was when BYU beat him last time, and then he exploded on a fan and became a senator. So
yeah.
Life is very strange.
Yeah, that is wild. So here in Utah, when College Game Day or Big Noon Kickoff brings that show to town, people here go insane for it. I'm curious, how do people in Cincinnati react to a big event like that coming to town? Are people going to go crazy? Are the students going to go crazy for game day on Saturday?
I think the students will because that's what they do.
What else is there to do? Come on, man.
Yeah. It's across from the frat houses, so I think they'll bribe them with donuts or whatever and have them there early and all that. But I know the first game day was pretty crazy because it had never come here, and you never really thought that it would, and so that was kind of a unique thing. I did do some interviews out at Utah before game day that morning. Went out and talked to Herb Street and Reese Davis and Stanford Steve, and so I did that part. I did not get up and go in the morning. I think I did a radio interview with the national people, but it's just I'm not a big crowd guy. If you could hit me over the head with a hammer, I would take that over the game day crowd probably. But given a choice. But kids and people love that type thing, so I would think they'd have a decent crowd. Big Noon Kickoff was here also in 2023, and that's when Cincinnati played their first Big 12 game, and that was against Oklahoma, who at the time was still in the Big 12. And that was actually a decent game. So Urban Meyer's been here before, and those guys. Urban Meyer's actually a Cincinnati grad. A lot of people don't know that before he went on to fame and fortune everywhere else. And Brady Quinn and Matt Leinart and the guys, and Chris the Bear Felica. I guess he'll be there. We'll talk to him or whoever. But it's a big show, and if you're a kid, that's why I've never understood too where people bellyache about the result of games. It's like, yeah, you want to win every game, but in the end, okay, you had a Saturday, you could have sat at home in your basement, and you went out and went to a football game and had some fun and hung with your friends, and was it really that bad?
Right.
Well, it's there's some perspective for you, Scott Springer.
And that's why we love college football.
Yeah, listen, Scott's been on a couple of the last 2 times out of last month here, Scott. So we appreciate you doing some extra work to hang out with us. And I'm glad. I'm
hoping to get a billboard there. That's I was looking for the billboard near the Red Iguana or the. I'm going to get a plug to. I went to the I think it was called the breakfast place, the Park Cafe.
Yeah.
Maybe it was across from a park.
Excellent little spot. Yep. What did you order?
Yeah, outstanding.
What did you get?
Good.
Oh, goodness. I had something. See, I thought I was getting like a pancake on the side, and I was thinking like, pancake, frozen food pancake. It's like a plate-sized pancake.
Yeah.
And that was in addition to whatever omelet that they gave me. And I just sat up front there by myself. But man, they were putting out the food, and it was busy, and it was very awesome. I told my son and daughter-in-law that live in Sandy, I said, you need to go to this place, go there and eat. I went in there and ate like I was heading to the electric chair.
Well, he's incorporated the electric
Well, I'm
chair.
glad that wasn't your last meal, Scott.
He's incorporated the electric chair and being hit over the head with a hammer, both in one interview. He loves life. He's Scott Springer.
I'm really a little bit more upbeat than that, but
yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Look, well, I get it. We're all the same way now too. We're in our 40s and have a bunch of kids, and so it's like, call me when you guys all wake up and game day's already been through most of it, and tell me what their picks were, because I was doing this.
Things like giant pancakes really truly excite us.
See, that gets us going. Yeah, absolutely. Scott Springer.
Yeah.
Cincinnati football for the Enquirer there in Cincinnati. We're looking forward to it, and have fun there, and we'll see how this result holds this weekend, and we're looking forward to having you on again, and of course, when these teams all match up again next year.
All right. You got my number.
There you go. Scott Springer, everybody.